She survived the silence, but the silence spoke back. You think you're alone in the dark. Think again. Subscribe now, because some voices never fade. You won't want to miss what comes next. She was just 14 when her world ended. Her family gone. Her home a pile of rubble and ash. She found herself in a series of shelters, anonymous rooms filled with the ghosts of other people's lives. She learned to live in silence, a deep, profound quiet that wrapped around her like a shroud. During the day, she was a ghost herself, moving through the world without leaving a mark. But at night, alone in the dark, she would whisper tiny, fragmented sentences into the void. Confessions, memories, questions without answers. And one night, something whispered back. It started as a comfort, a feeling more than a sound. A presence in the corner of her room. A shadow that seemed to listen without judgment. It was a friend she couldn't see, a companion in her crushing loneliness. She told it things she couldn't tell anyone else. She told it about the fire, the screams, the day the silence began. And then the shadow began to answer. It wasn't a voice she heard with her ears, but one that bloomed inside her mind, cool and clear. Do you remember? It asked one night, its question echoing in the hollow space of her thoughts. She squeezed her eyes shut, pulling the thin blanket over her head. I don't want to, she whispered into her pillow. The shadow's reply was instantaneous, a chilling caress against her mind. Then I will remember for you. That's when the fear started. They were a constant, low hum beneath the noise of the day. She stopped eating. Food tasted like dust, her throat too tight to swallow. Every shadow that flickered in her peripheral vision seemed to pulse with a hidden life. Every dark corner held a potential voice. They began to multiply. Some were kind, offering hollow words of comfort that felt like traps. Others were cruel, their words sharp as glass, replaying her worst moments, mocking her grief. And then there was one voice that made her blood run cold. It was deep, familiar, and filled with a sorrow that mirrored her own. It sounded just like her father. He would speak to her of small things, the way she used to braid her hair, the lullabies he sang her as a child. He never mentioned the fire. He never mentioned the end. He just spoke of the before, and his voice was so real, so full of love, it was the cruelest torture of all. She'd curl into a ball, pressing her hands over her ears, begging him to stop, but the voice would just grow gentler, more insistent. I'm here, my sweet girl. I'll never leave you. She was drowning. The shelter staff noticed her decline, the vacant eyes, the skeletal frame. They brought in a doctor, a kind woman with soft hands and a softer voice. The doctor listened patiently, as she tried to explain the shadows, the whispers, the voice of her dead father. "It's trauma," the doctor explained gently. "It's your mind's way of coping. These are memories, not real voices." The doctor prescribed medication, suggested therapy, talked about post-traumatic stress. But the girl just shook her head, a bone-deep certainty settling in her heart. "No," she said, her own voice sounding foreign and small. "It's real." The doctor smiled sadly, a look of pity she was starting to know well. Everyone thought she was broken. Maybe she was. But she knew what she heard. The voices weren't just memories. They knew things she'd forgotten. They promised her things. They promised her the truth. One night, the father voice was different. It wasn't gentle. It was urgent. "Follow me," it commanded. "You need to see." She was paralyzed with fear, but a stronger force, a desperate need to know, pulled her from her cot. She followed the feeling of the voice, the strange cold spot in the air that was her father's shadow. It was a service hallway, cold and smelling of disinfectant. The shadow flowed ahead of her, a patch of deeper darkness against the dimly lit walls. It stopped at a door, an old, forgotten janitor's closet, the paint peeling around the edges. "Open it," the voice urged. Her hand trembled as she reached for the cold metal knob. It turned with a loud click that echoed in the silence. She pushed the door open, revealing a small, windowless room. The air inside was stale, thick with dust. An old desk and a broken chair sat in the middle. But that's not what held her gaze. The walls. The walls were covered in writing, frantic, overlapping sentences scrawled in what looked like black marker. Her own handwriting. She stepped inside, her heart hammering against her ribs. She read the words, and the world tilted on its axis. Details of the fire she couldn't remember. Conversations with her mother she thought were lost. And then a line repeated over and over, circling the entire room. "I spoke to shadows, and they spoke back." She didn't remember writing any of it. She didn't remember this room. It was like looking at the diary of a stranger who had stolen her life. The doctor was right. It was her. It was all her. A wave of relief, so powerful it almost buckled her knees, washed over her. It wasn't ghosts. It was just her broken mind. She could get better. She could take the medicine, go to therapy, and she could get better. She turned to leave, a shaky smile on her face when she saw it. On the back of the door, in a different handwriting, a script she did not recognize was neat, precise, and chillingly elegant. Just 2 words written in the same black ink. "You're welcome." She survived the silence. But she did not survive the shadows. Because some voices, once you invite them in, never, ever leave. Subscribe now and return this Friday when we investigate the chilling case of the child who never existed. You won't want to watch it alone. Thanks for listening.